Yeah, I'm about to plug it into it.
4 minutes until showtime.
Ready to ride out, E?
I know you was weakened. They took your fan from you and left you there grieving. Put bands on you with no time for bereavement. Ran scams on you, took away your achievements. But your baby still stand for you, though they locked us down in the precincts. Shot us down, 8 shots in the back, still hanging from the trees. That was just recent. They pillaged our land, left you there bleeding. Murdered your baby and left you there screaming. Divided your substance and gave it to the heathen. Said that we unfair, but they continue cheating. Said that we faithless, but they not believing. I am Zion, but they still deceiving. I gotta prove, but they don't need a reason. But y'all strength, there's no competing. Zion is restored, the holy season. Sadiq sacrifices, the time of feasting. Yah'S loose thy chains, it's time for releasing. Loose thy chains, it's time for releasing.
Until showtime.
Y'all spoke a secret to his elect, and now the world stares in wonder. Y'all want me to says a man out of earth fears from his thunder. We gonna be free, yeah, and praise the Almighty. Come on, we gonna be free, yeah, and magnify the Almighty, yeah. Y'all hear the saints calling that they can't breathe. They slain by the wicked police. Yet your garments Zion, they beautiful. Clothe yourselves in peace and just dust the dirt off your shoulders. Live in truth and get bolder and bolder. Live in justice and get bolder and bolder. Live in judgment and get bolder and bolder. Y'all's gonna deliver us soon. Babylon is over. I'm headed to the holy city, the city of David, the holy city. Heart Zion, the holy city. YisraEL is the holy city. I'm headed to the holy city, the holy city. I'm headed to the holy city, the holy city.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
so it can be confirmed. To you, my Yah, do I lift up my soul. And trusting you, he always kept me whole. And left my enemies deep in their holes. Let none that wait on Yahweh be ashamed. But shame on those who sin without a cause. Show me your ways, please teach me your laws. Oh Elohim of my salvation, I'm staying down impatient as a child all the while I'm waiting. Remember not the sins of my youth. Lead me in your truth and he'll give your soul ease. The earth shall remain inherited by a seed. The secret of Yah's will who fears Elohim, or who believes everything. And to every word spoken, you can't take heed unless you hear somebody curse you, know you did the same thing. That's why I'm begging Yah for mercy and his love and kindness, cause I know that I ain't worthy.
All your heritage, all your teachings, all your brilliance, nothing but the
Praise Yah, Elohim, his Elohim gather across the seven seas. Captivity is taking hold upon me, confronting me, and now we flee from fallen leaves. The blood and grief from all the blood our people seen, and now we cry, where is the word from Elohim? And so we said that we are his wives to be submissive, but we dismiss it. It is of this reason we have fallen victim to the lies of your root. What a prey in pursuit, rebellious of the Son, forgetting that he is one. Broken the holy ordinance, rejecting the reproof. Then acknowledge what we do. Now we return back to the truth.
God's word is the truth. Yah's decrees is the proof. Local 12 just released the scoop. It's the summer of Sam. They calling his hand. Made us worship the Son of Man. And somehow that the moon, they stole our style and gave it to Rothschild. Now we exalt the vow, but hit the turnstile. Yah's now be set to crooked things straight. Praise Yah from the rising to the evening to the closing the gate. Exposing the fake. God give the truth a daybreak. Now the liars can't escape and the haters can't relate to the light that truth makes. See the wicked's pride deflate. Ye adore Yah, magnify Yah, cause he's great. All your heritage, all your teachings, all your brilliance, nothing but the nothing but the nothing but the nothing but the nothing but the
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Giving all praises, all glory, and all honor unto the mighty Elohim, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the only king, the only lawgiver, the only redeemer, the only judge, and the only savior of YisraEL and the world, whose name is Yah and Yahweh alone. Hallelujah. And welcome to another broadcast of Nothing But the Truth here at the House of YisraEL of Cincinnati, located at 1907 Vine Street. I am Mowreh IshYAH, YisraEL, from the House of Israel of Cincinnati, here to teach you the word of Yah, to teach you nothing but the truth. And we assure you that everything we teach you is the truth. But if you have any doubt that what you hear is not the truth, then all you have to do is give us a call. And you can call us at 513-237-5911. And we praise the mighty Yah for everybody tuning in because we know that you are here tuning in because of your fear and your love towards the mighty Elohim, whose name is Yah. And as I stated, I'm going to teach you about the true word of Yahweh. And who is Yah? Yahweh is the Elohim of the heavens, earth, and sea. Yahweh is the creator of the heavens, earth, and sea. He is also the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Yahweh is the one who raised up his servants to teach his people, who is now calling themselves African Americans. And Yahweh raised me to speak his word. And so that's what I will be doing today. What we're dealing with here on Nothing But the Truth are the 7 requirements of Yah, or Yahweh's 7 requirements. Yesterday, Mowreh IshYAH bin YisraEL taught us the first, or the chief, of the requirements, which is to fear the mighty Yah. And just to recap and let everybody know what we're talking about, go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, and begin reading at the 12th verse.
And now, YisraEL, what does Yahweh thy Elohim require of thee?
We see this is what Yahweh requires of us. This is what the Most High has set forth as standards to be his people.
But to fear Yahweh thy Elohim.
And so the first thing that Yahweh let us know that we are required to do is to fear Yahweh, your Elohim. And you cannot do anything else unless you fear Yahweh, your Elohim. Everybody has requirements when you step into their center. They have requirements. Your job has requirements. Your school has requirements. Your mother and your father have requirements. Your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend has requirements. Your friends have requirements. The store requires you to wear shirt and shoes. Everybody has requirements. And for whatever reason, we know about everybody else's requirements, yet and still, we're not aware of Yahweh's requirements. And that's why Yahweh has enabled us to do this thing today, to be able to show you his requirements, because he is the Elohim of Elohim, the God of gods, the King of kings. And we should know Yah's requirements. And the very first requirement is to fear Yahweh.
To walk in all his ways.
Now, this is the second requirement, and this is what we'll be dealing with today. To walk in all his ways. But let's understand, we can't walk in the Most High's ways unless we fear Yahweh. This is essential. It's chief. It's the first thing. It's the thing that we need to know. And this is what Mowreh IshYAH brought out yesterday. That we have to fear Yahweh. And if you fear Yahweh, then you hate evil. That's what the fear of Yahweh is. It's to hate evil. And pride. And arrogancy. And the froward mouth. And the evil way Yahweh hates. And if we fear Yahweh, we hate evil, pride, arrogancy, the froward mouth, and the evil way. Also, we learned that the fear of Yahweh will have you eschew evil, as Job. It said Job was a perfect man. Let's look at that. Job, and just reviewing a little bit with you what Yahweh requires us to do first. In Job, the 1st chapter, start reading in the very first verse.
It reads, "There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Elohim and eschewed evil."
You see, he was perfect and upright, and he feared Elohim, and he eschewed evil, letting us know that when you fear Yah, you must reject evil. You must resist evil, even though you have doctrines today teaching you, telling you that you should not resist evil. But the fear of Yah is to eschew evil, to hate evil. Also, the fear of Yah is the beginning of wisdom, or the fear of Yah is wisdom. And understanding is to depart from evil. You see the tone that we have. Every time you fear Yah, you must hate evil. You must reject evil. You must walk away from evil. The fear of Yah is the beginning of wisdom. And all those that keep his commandments have a good understanding. And you cannot keep Yah's commandments and practice evil at the same time. Therefore, why is it that Yahweh wants us to walk in all of his ways? And even so, why is it that this is the second requirement? Because Yahweh does everything in order. And there's a time and a purpose to everything under heaven. To everything there's a time and season, and to every season and time there is a purpose. So what is the purpose that Yahweh has allowed to walk in his ways is to be the second thing? Well, let me show you. Go to the book of 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, and the 20th verse. And what was created on, and as a matter of fact, go to the book of Genesis, the 41st chapter. What was created on the second day? On the second day, Yahweh created the heavens. And the heavens was the only thing Yah created that took 2 days to complete. Because Yahweh was showing us how he establishes things. Not only did he create the heavens on the second day, but he took 2 days to allow it to be completed, because he was establishing his word. And in the book of Genesis, the 41st chapter, I want to get right to it. Start reading at the 28th verse. Joseph is telling Pharaoh what his dream meant. Pharaoh had 2 dreams. He saw 7 ears of corn that withered, and he saw 7 cattle that got ate up. 2 separate dreams. And Joseph let him know this in Genesis 41 and 28.
"This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What Elohim is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh."
And he's going to show you what he's about to do.
"Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land.
And the plenty shall not be known
In the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous.
And look at this. And for that,
the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by Elohim, and Elohim will shortly bring it to pass.
you see, isn't this what we have been telling you? That Yahweh establishes things in the order of two. That's why Joseph knew this. That's why he told Pharaoh this, that he is going to establish this thing. It's established. And that is why he gave it to you twice, because it's established. So understand, my brothers and sisters, that when Yah puts something in this order of two, that is for establishment. And the Most High said the first requirement is to fear Yahweh. And you got to depart from evil. But now you can't just say you fear Yah. You got to establish this. This has to be established. And in order to establish the fear you have for the Almighty, in order to establish that you are actually walking away from evil, that you are actually not doing evil, you have to do something that is establishing your fear in the mighty Yah. Go to the book of Proverbs. The 4th chapter. And start reading in the 14th and the 13th verse.
Proverbs 4 verse 13 reads, take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Enter not into the path of the wicked.
Look here. When you take fast hold of instruction, you're attempting to walk in Yah's ways. You're attempting to fear the Most High. And so therefore, enter not into the path
of the wicked.
Don't go into the path of the wicked men.
And go not in the way of evil men.
And do not go in the way of evil men. Because evil and wicked people are not those that fear Yah. They're not those that fear Elohim. They're not going to have anything for you that is of the fear of Yah. Therefore, you're not establishing your fear for Yah if you are with evil men. So how is it that we are to establish our fear for the Almighty? Look in the book of Psalms 37. And in the book of Psalms 37, I want you to look at the verse 23.
The steps of a good man are ordered by Yah, and he delighteth in his way.
Yes, the steps of a good man is ordered by the Most High. That lets you know a good man is going to walk in the way of the Most High. And what is this way? Look in Psalms 128, verse 1. I'm going to show you what this way is. But first, I got to establish with you, I got to give you ample evidence that walking in Yah's ways is to establish your fear for the Most High. In Psalms 128, start reading in verse 1.
Blessed is everyone that feareth Yah.
Yeah, you're going to be blessed when you fear Yah.
And that walketh in his ways.
Of course. And walk in his ways. Because this is what you do. Once you fear Yah, now evil is an abomination. Evil is a horrible thing. Evil is absolutely unattractive. There's nothing delectable about evil once you fear Yahweh. Evil will not seem like fun. Evil will not seem like a vacation. Evil will not seem like a night at the club. Evil will be an abomination because the fear of Yah is your chief order. And therefore, you're not going to walk in the way of evil. You're going to walk in the way of Yah. Now, let me show you what Yahweh said about his ways. In the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the ways of Yahweh. Because Yahweh has 7 requirements. Yahweh said, "Hear now, YisraEL, what Yahweh requires of you." This is very important. It's really one of my favorite subjects in the scriptures because Yahweh tells you absolutely directly what he requires of you. He leaves you to no mystery. You don't have to shake up a snow globe to try to figure out how to walk with the Most High, how to be perfect with the Most High. In Isaiah 55, so we can see his requirements, Yahweh said he requires you to fear him and to walk in all of his ways. And let's learn about the ways of Yahweh. In Isaiah 55, start reading in verse 6.
Seek ye Yahweh while he may be found.
So you got to seek the Most High while he may be found. And brothers and sisters, Yahweh is to be found right now. He has us teaching almost every day. This is the time to find the Most High. It says, seek Yah while he may be found.
Call ye upon him while he is near.
Call him while he is near.
Let the wicked forsake his way.
So the wicked, you're going to forsake your way. And once you forsake your way,
and the unrighteous man his thoughts.
And once you forsake your thoughts,
and let him return unto Yah.
Yeah, you got to return to the Most High.
And he will have mercy upon him.
And to our Elohim.
For he will abundantly pardon.
Now, if the wicked is going to forsake his way, he's not going to walk in the way of wickedness, evil. So which way is he going to walk? And Yahweh said in verse 8,
for my thoughts are not your thoughts.
Yah's thoughts aren't our thoughts. So stop thinking that you think as brilliantly as the Almighty. It's not going to happen. Yah said his thoughts are not our thoughts. You don't know, you have no idea. None of us have no idea how the Almighty's thoughts operate.
Neither are your ways my ways.
And our ways aren't the Most High's ways, even though we try to make them to be his ways. Our ways are not the Most High's ways.
For as the heavens are higher than the earth. So are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
So you see, you want to know about Yah's ways. First, you have to understand whatever way you got going on, that is not Yah's ways. Not at all. And if we want to know what Yah's ways are, we got to see what Yahweh said about his ways. Also, look in the book of 2 Chronicles, the 6th chapter. In 2 Chronicles chapter 6, start reading at verse 30. Solomon was giving his prayer, and this is what he was saying.
Then hear thou from heaven thy dwelling place.
In verse 30, incidentally, is in the order of 2. And he says, hear from heaven, which was made on the 2nd day. And we're talking about the second requirement, because this is the order of Yah.
Then hear thou from heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and render unto every man according unto all his ways.
Whose heart thou knowest.
For thou only knowest the hearts of the children of men, that they may fear thee.
That they may fear thee.
To walk in thy ways.
You see how that's mentioned after fear Yah? Because this is what establishes your fear for the Most High. To walk in all thy ways,
so long as they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers.
So we got to understand, Yah's ways are not our ways. And if we're going to establish our fear for the Most High, we got to walk in the ways of the Most High. Now, you want to know the ways of the Most High. Well, let me show you how Yahweh said to learn about things. Go to the book of Psalms 37. And start at the verse 37. I want you to see this. Psalms 37, verse 37.
It reads, mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace.
So we got to mark them, take note of the perfect man, because that's who has peace. That's who's going to inherit the land. And if you want to inherit the land, if you want to be perfect, because that's what the ways of the Most High is showing you how to be. If you want to be perfect, like the perfect man, then take note of the perfect man. Mark the perfect man. What did Yahweh say he is and we have to be? Go to Leviticus, the 20th chapter. Just to show you what the ways of Yah, what the fear of Yah, and what the ways of Yah is teaching us how to be. In Leviticus 20, start at verse 7.
Sanctify yourselves, therefore.
Set yourselves apart from all the abominations of the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, of the Canaanites that inhabited this land before us. Set yourselves apart from them. Sanctify yourself. Sanctify yourself as it was read yesterday. Sanctify Yahweh of hosts himself and let him be your fear. Well, sanctify yourselves.
And be ye holy.
For I, Yahweh,
am your Elohim.
And so he wants us to be holy. And this is what you're doing, and this is what you're learning when you fear the Most High and when you walk in his ways. You're learning how to be holy. set apart. See, the multitude does evil. That's why it says, don't follow the multitude to do evil. Because that's what the multitude does. That's not holy. But Yahweh said, ye shall be holy men unto me. The Most High also wants us to know, when you're learning, and who's going to teach you how to be holy, he shows you in the book of Leviticus, the 10th chapter. In the 10th verse. Start at the 9th verse.
It reads, do not drink wine nor strong drink.
Talking to the children of Aaron. He says, and Yahweh spake unto Aaron, saying, do not drink wine nor strong drink.
Thou, nor thy sons with thee, when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, and that ye may put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean.
Yeah, this is what the priests, Yahweh's messengers, are supposed to do. Teach you the way of holiness and teach you the difference between clean and unclean, the difference between holy and unholy. Because this is how you learn how to walk in the ways of Yah. And that they may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yah has spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. So we got to learn the ways of Yah, the way to be holy, and how it is not, and how to not start defiling yourself with the unholy. We got to learn what is clean so we don't defile ourselves with the unclean. But we got to mark the perfect man. We got to see how this was applied. Who did this? Who did Yahweh say walked with him? And the people that Yahweh say walked with him, were they set aside? Were they special? Or did they do like everyone else? And that's what we can't do. Because Yahweh said his ways are not our ways. And his thoughts are not our thoughts. As high as the heaven is above the earth, so is his ways above our ways, and his thoughts of our thoughts. Therefore, we got to see, who did Yahweh set aside that walked in his ways? Well, I'll show you. The first person that walked, that is said to have walked in the ways of Yah, it's in the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter. And what is this showing you? It's showing you how you establish your fear for the mighty Yah. Because Yahweh said the first requirement to walk, to get in the door, so you can even break the seal on the new thing, so you can get that check. The first requirement is to fear Yahweh. So we got to know, how do we establish this? And he showed you how to establish it by walking in all his ways. And so how does Yahweh show you he established these men? In Genesis, the 5th chapter, we can start reading in the 18th verse.
It reads, and Yared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. And Yared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years.
So Enoch is who Yared begot.
And begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with Elohim after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years.
You see, this is the special thing about Enoch. Yahweh took him, and he was not. Why? Because out of all 12 of these first generations mentioned in the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter, Enoch is the only one mentioned in this chapter to have walked with Elohim. He's the only one that was mentioned to walk with Elohim out of these men. And Yahweh took him. See, Enoch was established by the Most High, and he established his fear to Yah, and he was set aside because he walked with Yah. And Yahweh said he walked with Elohim. Now, how are you going to walk with Elohim and do not walk in all of his ways? What does it say in the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, in the 5th verse? Amos chapter 3, verse 5.
It reads, "Can a bird follow their snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city and Yahweh have not done it? Surely Yahweh..."
Well, maybe it's verse 4.
"Will a lion roar in the forest when he have no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have not taken nothing?"
I'm looking for, can two walk together, least they be agreed. And that's the 2nd verse, isn't it?
That's verse 3.
Oh, the 3rd verse. I'm sorry. I had the wrong verse in my head. Amos 3:3 says, "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" And of course, the answer is no. You can't walk with somebody if you're not agreed. And so Enoch was in complete agreement, was in complete compliance with the Almighty. And Yahweh said he walked with him. And what did Enoch do? Now, mind you, I'm gonna show you all the ways of Yah, because he said walk in all of his ways, which lets you know there's more than one thing you got to do. And what we have discovered, what Yahweh has shown us, is there is 7 ways of the Most High. So not only does Yahweh have 7 requirements, but in those 7 requirements, he has 7 ways. And you have to do all of them, because they're a complete set. If you don't do one, you're not going to be able to do the other. Likewise, with his requirements, if you don't fear Elohim, you can't walk in all his ways. And if you don't fear Elohim and walk in all his ways, then how are you going to love him? And if you don't fear Elohim, walk in all his ways, and love him, how are you going to serve him? With all your heart and with all your soul. How are you going to keep his commandments and his statutes? It's impossible. Likewise, the 7 ways of the Most High, they must all be done. And if you're not doing all the ways of Yah, then you're not doing the ways of Yah. Period. And so all the ways of Yah, Enoch did. And every person that Yah willing will be able to show you did all the ways of Yah. But let me show you one of the ways of Yah Enoch did. It's in the book of Psalms 86. In Psalms 86, start reading in the 10th verse.
For thou art great, and does wondrous things. Thou art Elohim alone. Teach me thy way, O Yah, and I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name.
Yeah, you see this? The psalmist was crying out to Yah to learn his ways, to walk in the truth. Because all the ways of Yah are the truth. Every last one of them. Every way of Yah is the truth. And how do I know that? It's in Psalms 33. In Psalms 33, start reading at verse 3 and read verse 3 and 4.
It reads, sing unto him a new song.
Yes, sing unto Yah a new song. Because when you understand how beautiful the Almighty is, you're going to have new songs to sing.
Play skillfully with a loud noise. For the word of Yah is right.
That's right.
And all his works are done in truth.
All his works are done in truth. So Enoch knew this. Enoch walked in all the ways of the Most High, and he was a man of truth. And then Yahweh require us to be men of truth. Then he let Moses know, gather men of truth, able men, men of truth that fear Elohim. Because this is what you have to be. You have to be about the truth. Why do you think we're teaching you nothing but the truth? Because this is the way of Yah. All his ways are done, and all his works are done in truth. Look in Psalms 25. And I know Enoch did the truth. Yahweh didn't have to write a whole long book about Enoch to let me know he kept the truth. He let me know Enoch kept the truth just by saying he walked with Elohim. And you can't walk with Elohim and be a liar. That's how I know the book that they ascribe to Enoch is a lie. Because the book is not magnifying and sanctifying Yahweh of hosts himself. The book of Enoch starts telling you about Babylonian religion and Babylonian philosophy. Once you start understanding the order of Yah, you'll learn that the book of Enoch is completely out of order. And Enoch walked with Elohim, and therefore he walked in the way of truth, and therefore anything that's in that book of so-called Enoch is not about the real Enoch that Yahweh said walked with him. And in Psalms 25, verse 10 says,
all the paths of Yahweh are mercy and truth.
Mercy and truth unto such that keep his covenant and his testimonies. Letting you know all the ways of Yah's truth. So Enoch walked with Elohim, and he walked in the truth. He walked in the truth because that's what one who walks with the Most High does. Last one on this truth. It's in Jeremiah, the 4th chapter. In Jeremiah chapter 4, start reading in verse 1 and read verse 1 and 2.
If thou wilt return, O YisraEL, saith Yah, return unto me.
And you see, he wants you to return. And if you're going to return to the Most High, you got to fear him. And if you're going to fear him, you got to depart from evil. And if you're going to depart from evil, then you got to walk in Yah's ways. Because walking in the way of Yah establishes your fear for the Most High. And if thou will return, O YisraEL, saith Yah, return unto Yah, return unto me.
And if thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove.
Yeah, and you have to put the abominations out of the sight because they're evil. And you can't establish your fear with Yahweh if you are colluding with evil. Verse 2.
And thou shalt swear, Yahweh liveth.
Yah liveth.
In truth.
He lives in truth.
In judgment.
He lives in judgment.
And in righteousness.
He lives in righteousness. So how can you walk with Yahweh if you're not walking in the truth? So we know Enoch definitely walked in the truth. And the truth is the way of Yah. It's the first way of Yah. Because the truth, Yah's law is the truth. And the law is the light. And the light was made in the first day. Letting you know the truth is the first way of Yah. And who else walked with Yahweh? In what way did they walk? Of course, they walked in all of his ways. Look in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter. Because we're going to mark the perfect man, for the end of that man is peace. And this is how we become perfect. This is how we become holy. By fearing Yah, departing from evil, and walking in all of his ways. Because these are Yah's requirements. Why would Yahweh require you to do something if it's not going to make you holy? And Yahweh said that he is holy, so you shall be holy. Therefore, you shall not defile yourself with the abominations of the other nations. And if we are going to tell you not to defile yourself with the abominations of the other nations, then we got to show you how to walk in the ways of holiness. And that's what these are. And in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter, start reading in verse 8. Read verse 8 and read verse 7, 8, and 9.
It reads, And Yah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth.
Because every imagination of man's heart was wicked, was evil. Because Yahweh said his ways is above our ways. His thoughts is above our thoughts. And man's ways and thoughts was so wicked that Yah said he got to destroy him.
Both man and beast and the creeping thing and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yah.
Noah found grace amongst the eyes of Yah.
And these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man.
Listen, Noah was a just man. He was righteous, which is the way of Yah. To be righteous. To walk in justice. This is the way of Yah. And Noah was a just man.
And perfect in his generations.
And he was perfect, which incidentally is another way of Yah. And Noah is the second person I'm showing you. And it's letting you know about two things that Noah was. He was just and perfect.
And Noah walked with Elohim.
And just to let you know Noah was Yah's servant, he gives you a third accolade. Noah walked with Elohim. And Noah begot 3 sons because he was Yah's servant. but he walked with Elohim. And what did he do for Noah? He allowed Noah and his family to be saved from the flood that destroyed every living thing on earth. Because he was righteous. He was a just man. And how do I know that righteousness is the way of Yah? Not only because it shows you that Noah was just, but because Yahweh tells you that his ways is justice and judgment. And where does Yahweh let you know that his ways are justice and judgment? In the book of Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter. Showing you that the way of Yah is just. Start reading Deuteronomy 32. Start at the 4th verse to get right in the thick of it.
It reads, He is the rock. His work is perfect.
Yah's work is perfect.
For all his ways are judgment.
All his ways are judgment.
A Elohim of truth.
Elohim of truth.
And without iniquity. Just and right is he.
Just and right is he. This is who he is. Righteousness is what Yah is. That's why we say Yah is righteous. This is the way of Yah. And Noah was just. And Noah walked with Elohim. And what is righteousness? Well, righteousness is this. Just to show you, just if you was wondering, look in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. Also, it says Abraham believed Yah, and he counted to him for righteousness. And I'm going to show you something on that. But go here to Deuteronomy chapter 6 and read verse 24 and 25, just to give you a good picture of what it is to be righteous.
And Yahweh commanded us to do all these statutes.
You got to do all of Yah's statutes.
To fear Yahweh our Elohim.
Of course you got to fear Yah, because that is the chief requirement.
For our good always.
Because it's for your good.
That he may preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness.
It's your righteousness.
If we observe to do all these commandments before Yah our Elohim.
If you do all of his commandments.
As he hath commanded us.
So we have to do his commandments. That's your righteousness. And how do you know if doing Yah's commandments is righteous? Well, Abraham believed Yah, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And in the book of 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, the 20th verse, just to show you that righteousness is not only doing the commandments, but it's believing everything the Most High says. In 2 Chronicles 20 and 20, it reads,
And they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Yehudah.
Listen up, Yehudah.
And ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in Yah your Elohim.
You got to believe Yahweh your Elohim so you may be what?
Established.
Established. Because when you believe Yah, you do what he says. And when you do what he says, you're walking in his ways. And when you believe Yah, you fear him. And if you want to establish your fear for the Most High, you believe Yah, and you will be established. And Noah was a righteous man, which is the second man I'm showing you. And he was righteous, which is the second way of Yah I'm teaching you about. And to be established, which also is in the order of two, to establish your fear for the Almighty, you have to believe Yah and you will be established.
Believe in his prophets,
and you shall prosper. This is how you show forth your righteousness. This is how you take that righteousness from being just a word to your shoes, and you start walking in righteousness because you believe Yah. Yahweh said don't eat swine, you don't eat it. Yahweh said keep the Sabbath day, you keep it. Yahweh said if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed, you bless Israel. Yahweh said if you pay your tithes and offerings, then he will bless you. Pay your tithes and offerings. Without question. And Noah was an exemplification of believing Yah, because he told Noah to build an ark. And Noah said, okay, let me build this ark. He didn't say, for what? What am I about to build an ark for? He didn't do none of that. He said, all right, let me build this ark. How am I supposed to build it? What's the measurements? What you want me to put in this ark? Where you want me to put this ark? What? And Noah just did it because he believed him. And Yahweh said that he was righteous. Hallelujah. And let's show you the third way of the Most High. Because Yahweh said walk in all of his ways. And how are you going to be established if you don't believe Yah? How are you going to establish your fear for Yah? How are you going to establish that you're walking not in the way of evil unless you have some tangible, concrete evidence of your fear for the Most High? And it's the ways of Yah. And in the book of Genesis, the 17th chapter, we'll see another way of Yah. In Genesis chapter 17, start reading in the first verse.
And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the El Shaddai. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
So Yahweh appeared to Abraham and said, walk before me and be perfect. And that's exactly what Abraham did. How do I know that? Because Yahweh lets you know that. It's in the book of Genesis, the 18th chapter, the 19th verse.
For I know him.
Yahweh said, I know him.
That he will command his children.
He's going to do this. He's going to command his children.
And his household
and
after him.
And not only his children. See, some people forget that part. Not only must you command your children, but also your household. So your household has to be in order also. That means if you got a servant in your house, your wife, your husband, whoever, if you got a household that you are over, you better do it like Abraham did it. He said, I know him. He will command his children and his household
after him.
And
they shall keep the way of Yah.
Hello? They're going to keep the way of Yah. To do what?
Justice.
Justice. And didn't we just say that's one of the ways of Yah? To do justice and
judgment.
And that's exactly what Abraham was doing. Abraham was a man of judgment. He knew Yah's judgments. He kept Yah's judgments. He did Yah's judgments. Because Yahweh said that he walked before him. And he was perfect. And how do I know that Abraham walked before Yah and kept these ways? I know it because of his son, Jacob, which is also going to show you the fourth man in the book of Genesis, the 48th chapter. In Genesis chapter 48, start reading at verse 13.
Genesis 48 verse 13 reads, And Joseph took them both.
His sons, he took both of his sons.
Ephraim in his right hand towards Yisrael left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward YisraEL's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And YisraEL stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hand wittingly. For Manasseh was the firstborn.
But Yahweh said he made Ephraim his firstborn, because Yahweh know what he's doing.
And he blessed Joseph
And said,
Elohim, before whom my father Abraham and Yitzchak did walk.
you see this? Who walked with Elohim? Abraham and Isaac.
Which fed me all my life long unto this day.
So Abraham walked with Elohim. Also, Isaac walked with Elohim. In what Isaac was assigned for a certain way of the Most High. And I'm going to show you that. It's in the book of Genesis, the 24th chapter. Because how old was Sarah when she had Isaac? She was 90 years old. And how old was Abraham? He was 99. And they said, and Yahweh said, is there anything too hard for me? Because how is a 90-year-old woman going to have a baby? That's why Sarah laughed. And that's why Abraham laughed. And that's why his name was YisHAH. Meant laughter. And in the book of Genesis, the 24th chapter, start reading at verse 26. Because Abraham sent his servant to find a wife for his son Isaac. And let me show you what he says.
It reads, and the man bowed down his head and worshiped Yah. And he said, blessed be Yahweh of my master Abraham, who have not left destitute my master of his mercy.
You see that? He didn't leave Abraham destitute of his mercy.
And his truth.
And his truth. Aren't these the ways of Yah?
I being in the way, Yah led me to the house of my master's brethren.
Yeah. He didn't leave Abraham destitute of his mercy and his truth. And Isaac was a sign of Yah's mercy. He gave Abraham a sign of Yah's loving kindness, because loving kindness and mercy, they're synonymous. That's what Yah's mercy is. This is loving kindness. And he gave Abraham a child in his old age. And look in the book of Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, just to show you that loving kindness and mercy, which is the same thing, is the way of Yah. It's in the book of Jeremiah, the 9th chapter. Start reading the 23rd verse.
Thus saith Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom.
Yeah, so if you're wise, if you know Yah, there's no need to glory in your wisdom, since your ways and your thoughts are far below Yah's thoughts and Yah's ways.
Neither let the mighty man glory in his might.
And how are you going to brag about your muscles when Yahweh is the Elohim? He is the power. What strength do you have against the Most High? He said the fear of Yah is to hate evil and pride. So why are we going to brag about the muscles?
Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth.
This is what we should be glorying, that we understand
and knoweth me,
that we knoweth Yah,
that I am Yah which exercise loving kindness.
that he is Yah that exercises loving kindness,
judgment,
judgment,
and righteousness.
Didn't we just say these are the ways of Yah? He said he exercised them. That means this is what he's doing. That's his way. That's what he's about. He's about loving kindness. And Isaac was a sign of loving kindness. He exercises judgment and righteousness in the earth, for in these things I delight, saith Yah. No wonder he wants you to walk in these ways, because he delights in them. And if he delights in them, then we should delight in them. Especially if you want to establish your fear for the Most High. This is how you establish your fear for Yah. By walking in all of his ways. Who else did Yahweh say walked with him? Go to the book of 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter, and start reading at the 16th verse.
Second Chronicles 7 verse 16 reads, "For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually."
Now, just to show you that we don't make this up, 16 is in the order of 2. And Yah's name is in the order of 2. And what is it saying in the 16th verse?
"For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually.
That's right.
And as for thee, if thou walk before me.
Walk before me, talking to Solomon.
As David thy father walked.
So who walked before Yah? David walked before Yah and
do according to all that I have commanded thee, and shall observe my statutes and my judgment.
Then
will I establish thy throne of thy kingdom, according as I have covenanted it with David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man to be a ruler in Israel.
You see, he established, he said, if you walk with him, he'll what? Establish you. Didn't I tell you that walking with Yahweh is what establishes your fear for the Most High? And David walked with Yah. And that's why he was established. That's why he made the covenant with David. Because David was a man that was perfect with the Most High. And I know the world hates to hear that David was perfect. Because as soon as we mention David being perfect, they want to talk about something that Yahweh said he ain't going to mention no more. And how do I know David was perfect? Go to the book of 1 Kings, chapter 15. Yes, King David, perfect. And I know you've been taught that no man can be perfect. And that's why he sent the Christ of the New Testament to show you how to be perfect. But this is a package of baloney. David was perfect. As a matter of fact, Yahweh commanded us to be perfect. And this is why we're showing you the ways of Yah, so we can learn how to be perfect. It said, mark the perfect man, for the end of that man is peace. How's all these perfect people in the scriptures, but now all of a sudden we can't be perfect? Well, we're perfect. We can be perfect. Yahweh told us to be perfect. And as a matter of a fact, one of Yah's ways is perfect. Look at 1 Kings 15, verse 1.
Now when the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abiam over Yehudah, 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother name was Maacah, the daughter of Abba Shalom. And he walked in all the sins of his father.
Now, how did he walk? It doesn't say this man walked before Yah. It said he walked in all the sins of his father,
which he had done before him. And his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his Elohim.
His heart was not perfect with Yahweh his Elohim,
as the heart of David his father.
You see that? David was perfect. His heart was perfect. And what does it mean when you're perfect? It means you're complete, you're whole, you're sincere. You're sincere with Yah. You go all the way for the Most High. How do I know the way Yah is perfect? Read 2 Samuel 22 and the 31st verse. Now, I done showed you that David walked with Yah, that David's heart was perfect with Yah, but you want to see where being perfect is the way of Yah. No problem. In 2 Samuel 22, verse 33, it reads, verse 31, it reads,
as for Elohim, his way is perfect.
There you go. As for Elohim, his way is perfect.
The word of Yahweh is tried.
Uh-huh.
He is a buckler to all them that trust in him.
That's right.
For who is Elohim, save Yah?
And who is this Elohim? Yahweh.
And who is a rock, save our Elohim?
And who is this perfect rock? It's our Elohim. And look in Psalms 19, verse 7. Just to give you no doubt in your mind that Yahweh is perfect. In Psalms 19 and 7, it reads,
the law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul.
Yeah, that's how you know you're dealing with the law of Yah. Because it's perfect. It's all there. It's 100%. And that's how we have to be. Like David was. Sincere, complete sincerity with the Most High. That's being perfect. So the way of Yah, all the ways of Yah so far is truth, justice, judgment, loving kindness, and perfect. And I just showed you that David was a perfect man. Job was a perfect man. Asa, Yah said, was perfect. He said Hezekiah's heart was perfect as David was. So there's not a short of perfect men in your ancestry. So don't let no one teach you that this so-called Christ in the New Testament was the only one that's perfect. As a matter of fact, he lets you know he wasn't perfect. But that's for another story and another time. Let's move on. To show you more ways of Yah and more people that Yahweh said mark so you can have peace. Go to the book of 2 Chronicles, the 17th chapter, and start reading in the 4th verse. For what are we dealing with? We're dealing with Yahweh's 7 requirements. We're also dealing with the second requirement, which is to walk in all of his ways. And Yahweh said the first way, or the first requirement, is to fear Yah. And how do you establish this? Because that's what you must do. That's why Yahweh made walking in all his ways the second requirement. Because he wants you to establish your fear for Yah. He wants you to know how to establish your holiness. to establish your perfection. And that's walking in all his ways. So look in the book of 2 Chronicles 17. Start reading in verse 4. Going to read about another man that Yah gave the accolade of perfection, of walking with him. 2 Chronicles 17 verse 4.
Besought to Yah Elohim of his father, and walked in his commandments, and not after the doings of YisraEL.
Start reading in the first verse so you can know who he's talking about. Or the third verse, I'm sorry, so you can know who he's talking about.
And Yah was with Jehoshaphat.
Yah was with Jehoshaphat.
Because he walked in the first ways of his father David.
He walked in the first ways, the chief ways of his father David.
And sought not unto the false idol.
And he didn't go after false idols. Like what? Like the doings. And he didn't go after false idols, but he sought Yahweh, Elohim of his fathers, and walked in his commandments, and not after the doings of YisraEL. Because that's what the northern nation of Israel was doing, following the deities. And his heart was lifted up in the ways of Yah. Moreover, he took away the high places and groves out of Yehudah. This was Jehoshaphat. He walked in the ways, it says he walked in the first, which is letting you know it's the chief ways of David, his father. And of course, David walked with Yah. And then just in case you thought he made a mistake, he let you know again, he walked in the commandments of Yah. This is what Jehoshaphat did. And he didn't go after his other forefathers that served false deities. Now, why is that important? Because that shows you the sixth way of Yah. And look in the book of Ezekiel so I can show it to you. In the book of Ezekiel, the 18th chapter, start reading in the 20th verse.
Ezekiel 18 verse 20.
And before you start there, start reading in verse 14. Start reading verse 14.
Now lo, if he beget a son,
And talking about a father that was wicked, if he beget a son
that seeth all his father's sin which he have done, and considereth, and doeth not such like, that have not eaten upon the mountains, neither have lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, have not defiled his neighbor's wife, neither have oppressed any, have not withholden the pledge.
You see, he didn't lift up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel. I wanted you to see that the person that doesn't do what the wicked people did before him, he's going to live. Now go to the 21st verse.
But if the wicked will turn from all his sins that he have committed.
So if the wicked turn from his sins that he committed, if the son doesn't follow after his father's wicked ways, or if the wicked turn from all the sins that he have committed,
and keep all my statutes, and do that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live.
he shall not die.
All his transgression that he have committed, they shall not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he have done, he shall live.
Yeah, that's why I don't know why everybody want to bring up David's issue. Because Yahweh said he was righteous. Yahweh said he was perfect. Yahweh said he walked with him. Therefore, he turned from his wickedness and is not to be mentioned anymore. Keep reading.
All thy transgressions that he have committed, they shall not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he have done, he shall live.
Have I any pleasure at all that the wicked should die, saith Yahweh Elohim, and that he should not return, and that he should return from his ways and live? But when the righteous turneth away from his righteousness and committeth iniquity, and doeth according to all the abominations that the wicked man doeth, shall he live? All his righteousness that he hath done shall not be mentioned. In his trespass that he hath trespassed, and in his sin that he hath sinned, in them shall he die. Verse 25.
Yet ye say,
the way of Yahweh
is not equal.
Hear now,
O house of Yisrael,
is not my way equal?
Are not your ways unequal?
Yeah, this is one of the ways of Yah, to be equal. Because Yah said a false balance is an abomination. And if a false balance is an abomination, then it's evil. And you cannot establish your walk, you cannot establish your fear for Yah if you have a false balance. And Yah said, are not my ways equal? Are not your ways unequal? Read that verse 25.
Yet ye say, the way of Yahweh is not equal. Hear now, O house of Yisrael, is not my way equal? Are not your ways unequal?
When a righteous man
turneth away from his righteousness,
and committeth iniquity,
and dieth in them,
for his iniquity that he hath done,
shall he die.
Again,
when the wicked man turneth away from his wickedness.
And that's what we're trying to have you do. Turn from your wickedness and walk in the way of holiness. Walk in the way of perfection. Because that's what Yah's ways are. They're holy. They're perfect. And when you turn from your wickedness and walk in the ways of Yah that you have committed, and do of that which is lawful and right, he shall live and save his soul alive. But he considereth and turneth away from all his transgressions that he committed. He shall surely live. He shall not die. Yet say the house of Israel,
the way of Yahweh is not equal.
O house of Israel,
are not my ways equal?
My ways are equal.
Are not your ways unequal?
Yes. And look at Proverbs 11:1. Because this is the way of Yah, to be equal, to be balanced. How is he going to kill the wicked man for his wickedness? Not let the righteous man be righteous. How is he? It says, and I'm going to show you that in Psalm, but look in Proverbs 11:1.
It reads, a false balance is an abomination to Yah.
Yeah, because that's evil to the Most High. And if it's evil to Yah, it's evil to me. And we need to walk in all of his ways. And just to show you that Yahweh's is equal, is just, look in Genesis, I believe I want the 18th chapter. In Genesis 18, start reading in verse, just get right to it, read verse 23.
Genesis 18, verse 23 reads, and Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?
You gonna kill the righteous with the wicked?
Peradventure, there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein?
That be far from thee to do after this manner,
to slay the righteous with the wicked.
And that the righteous should be as the wicked. That's not balanced. That the righteous are just like the wicked.
That be far from thee.
That be far from thee.
Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?
Yeah, see, to be, if you slay the righteous with the wicked, and you know Yahweh didn't, because Yahweh let Abraham know if there's 50 in the righteous, 40, 30, 20, or 10, I won't destroy it. I'll save it for their sake, because I'm not going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. And Yah said that his ways are equal. So if the righteous man does righteously, he lives. But if the wicked man does wickedly, he dies. So why are we letting someone teach us that somebody could die for you And they were supposed to be righteous. That's not balanced. That's not equal. That's not the way of Yah. Therefore, it's evil. And therefore, we can't do it. We can't follow that teaching because it doesn't help us establish our fear for the Most High. And the last one, go to the book of 2 Chronicles, the 34th chapter, and start reading in the first verse. Mm-hmm.
2 Chronicles 34, which verse?
First, verse 1.
Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years.
And he did that which was right in the sight of Yahweh,
and walked in the ways of David his father,
and declined neither to the right hand
nor to the left.
For in the 8th year
of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after Elohim of David his father.
You see, Josiah walked with Yah because he walked after the ways of David, which was the ways of Yah. And letting you know, he walked with Yahweh. Also, look at verse 26 of this same chapter. Because Josiah's people found a copy of the law. And when they brought it to Josiah and he heard about all the curses that will befall Israel for doing evil, he rent his clothes and he put on sackcloth and he cried out because he saw there was great evil determined upon the children of Israel. And so in verse 26, it says,
and as for the king of Yehudah,
because the prophetess is letting the men know what to tell Josiah.
Who sent you to inquire of Yah? So shall ye say unto him,
thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Israel,
concerning the words which thou hast heard.
Because thy heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before thy Elohim.
When thou heard of his words against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, and humbleth thyself before me, and did rend thy clothes, and weep before me, I have even heard thee also, saith Yah.
Behold, I will gather thee to thy fathers,
and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace.
Neither shall thy eyes see all the evil that I will bring upon this place,
and upon the inhabitants of the same.
So they brought the king word again, because Yahweh was showing him one of his ways.
90 seconds.
And that way is goodness. And how do I know that? Look at the 35th chapter of 2 Chronicles in the 26th verse.
Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his goodness, according to that which was written in the law of Yah. All his deeds, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Kings.
Yeah, this is goodness that Yahweh
60 seconds.
gave him. All of Yah's way is goodness. That's what Yah's ways is good. Look in Genesis, the first chapter, the 30th verse. I'm sorry, verse 31.
It reads, and Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
Yeah, everything Yahweh did was good. That's the completion of his ways. Goodness. And Josiah was shown goodness because he walked with Yah. Last scripture, Isaiah 42, verse 16.
10 seconds.
42, verse 16.
Isaiah 42 and 16 reads, and I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not.
You see, Yah said he's going to do this thing. With his servant, he's going to bring the blind by a way that they knew not. And who knew the ways of Yah? Who is teaching the ways of Yah? And
I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them and not forsake them.
So the Almighty wants us to do what he said in the book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, the 12th verse. YisraEL, what does Yahweh require of thee? But to fear Yahweh thy Elohim and to walk in all of his ways. And what I've taught you today is if you're going to fear Yah, which is the chief of his requirements, it must be established by walking in all of his ways. This is how you establish your fear for the mighty Yah. Hallelujah. And until tomorrow, Yahweh loves you very much, and so do we at the house of YisraEL. Shalom.
To you, my Yah, do I lift up my soul. And trusting you, he always kept me home. And left my enemies deep in their holes. Let none that wait on Yahweh be ashamed. The shame on those who sin without a cause. Show me your ways, please teach me your laws. Oh Elohim,